Morning everybody, my name's Andrew Rowe and I'm a director at Evolution, dealing mainly with accounts clients. I'm going to talk to you today about the benefit of good management information and the benefits we see for both ourselves and our clients. Also, how we can use the technology that's out there, and in particular eTime, our cloud accounting service that we've developed at Evolution. So I'll explain what the benefits are to our clients and to us. So what do we see as the characteristics of a successful business? Well, certainly we'd expect to see some or all of those items you see there up on the screen. At Evolution, we often talk about how we can make a difference to our clients and how we can add value to our dealings with those clients. One of the areas we see as a real place we can assist clients is with the quality of information that they have and then what they do with that information. So what do I mean by good quality information? Well, it has to be timely, so it has to be up to date and easily available. It has to be easy to understand. I mean, if any accounting system, I think the rule is the simpler the better. From a control point of view, it should allow the business to establish internal controls which should detect and deter fraud, theft and mismanagement. And it should aid the decision-making process, so it should produce reports that are easily understandable and KPIs that can be used as part of the strategic planning process. From an external point of view, I think the information produced needs to be robust and have integrity, so when you're dealing with the VAT or pay-as-you-earn, you've got confidence that those figures are correct. Also, when dealing with funders, as Mike explained, it is much easier to get a funding application past a credit team if the information is backed up by up-to-date management information. Just to show that Mike and I have linked in with what we're doing, I've stolen one of his slides, so thanks, Mike. But I just wanted to really think about that fourth point and think that we may have a great business, but if we are not measuring our performance and comparing it to where we expect it to be, how are we ever going to know how well we're doing? So the title of this really is Knowledge is Power, and I think what I'm trying to get across really is that a business's information and knowledge that it has is really its greatest asset, but often it's underutilised and only used really for compliance purposes. So why do we have to keep books and records? Now, I'm going to talk to you a little bit later on about how technology's moved on. I do this while blocking the screen. But when I started out in accountancy, this was classed as cutting-edge technology in the books and recording of any business, which gave me many a sleepless night, I can tell you, as a junior accountant. But that was very good for when you were trying to do a VAT return every quarter, but wasn't really much use when you were trying to compare sales to budget or sales to this time last year. So traditionally, books and records have been kept, I suppose because it's the law of the land. You have to do it under tax law and you have to do it under the Companies Act. Businesses use it to feed their VAT return and their end-of-year accounts and end-of-year tax return, but sometimes this is done months after the actual fact, and really is no use at all to the business when they're trying to make important decisions. So these are some of the things we often hear from businesses when we talk to them about improving their management information. Now, as advisors, we have to be conscious of these things, but certainly we also have to encourage businesses to think about what they're going to do with the information they have at their hand. So if you think of a business and how they deal with the information they have, we try to sit down with businesses and encourage them to use what they've got and use it in a timely fashion, and not just use it for compliance purposes. Now, usually some people will say to us, well, this is only for larger multi-million-pound turnover businesses, and we would say, well, no, it isn't really. It's almost more important for the smaller business who's looking to grow and increase profits and turnover. Even those businesses that might have a dedicated accounts team, they still spend roughly 70% of their time producing management accounts, but only 30% of the time analysing what they mean. Even those businesses then that may use a traditional PC-based system such as Sage, still use that information, take it and use it to populate spreadsheets, usually manually. This leads to errors. And spreadsheets, although a fantastic tool, and we're accountants and nobody loves spreadsheets more than we do, they're still inflexible and prone to error. A recent study showed that 40% of all business spreadsheets contained errors. Although, you know, I think someone did say that 75% of all stats are made up, so you can make of that what you will, really. So really, the point we're trying to get across is, wouldn't it be great if the decisions you were making were backed up by up-to-date information whenever you needed it? So eTime is our cloud-based accounting function that we've developed over the last 2.5 years, and something we see really as the future of the accountancy profession. We see it as not only a record-keeping and bookkeeping function for our clients, but also another item in our tool bag that really allows us to give our clients the sort of joined-up, all-encompassing service that they require. And if you haven't seen it dotted around the place, there's our strat plan as part of our branding. And we see it as really part of us helping our clients plan their future. So what exactly is eTime then? Well, about 2 to 3 years ago, we saw that there was really a gap in the market for cloud accounting, using the technology that was out there to move forward the traditional sort of PC-based accounting. We partnered with the leading software house in Europe, a business called Twinfield, to develop eTime. That's it. We think that this takes the traditional bookkeeping and record-keeping functions to a complete different level, allowing businesses to have the information they require wherever, whenever they are, be it on tablet, be it on laptop, wherever they can be, not just tied to an accounts office at their business premises. This, I know it's pretty difficult to see that, but I just thought I would just show you it just to see. This is the sort of landing page of the eTime software, which is driven by Twinfield. Just to sort of show you really that, almost for your non-accountant, I suppose, that it's not just a series of letters, numbers and words, but it's more easily to understand icons and things like that. So what are the benefits of eTime then to our clients? Well, accessibility. As long as you've got an internet connection, you can log on and find out what your business is doing at any time, wherever you are. So again, you're not tied to being in the office, in the accounts room, where the PC is sat in the corner. From a financial point of view, there's no more paying up front for large software or licensing costs. It's just replaced by a smaller monthly account fee. But the real benefit, I think, is for the clients who are using the technology out there to give themselves that real-time information that is a real benefit to them when they're dealing with projects and new markets, and just basically not relying on months-old information. For us at Evolution, the benefits to us is, well, it allows us to work much more closely to our clients. The advice we give is based upon up-to-date information and not historical information. And it really means that we're moving away from the traditional old client accounting model. Typically, this would mean a business has a 31 March year end. By the time it gathers together its information and pulls together everything it hands its books over to its accountant, 6 months could have passed. The accountant would then typically take a couple of months to turn those books and records into accounts, and they would then be filed with Companies House or the Inland Revenue. And really, this could mean that an issue that should have been raised could now be something like 18 to 20 months out of date, and really that's no good to any business. So how does technology make a difference then? Well, as I said earlier, all accounting systems have certain processes, and 2 of the applications that we use in our eTime software, one is Basecone. Now this is a recording tool which allows us to take, if I give you the traditional way, I suppose, of how you would record a cost in a business, you would get, typically, let's have a think, something like you'd get an invoice from Vodafone, somebody opens the envelope, manually records it in the system, posts it to telephone, goes and files it away in a lever arch file. Using the Basecone app, this is scanned into the system, posted to telephone, and then is recorded as a PDF which is embedded in the system. The next time you get an invoice from Vodafone, it is scanned into the system and the system automatically posts it there for you. From a bank point of view, we can import all bank transactions straight into the system. We recently got brought in by one of the banks to act for a business, and we had to record some historical information for that business. We did the last month manually, and it took one of our teams 7.5 hours to record a month's transactions. It now takes 40 minutes using the bank import system. And again, a bit like the Vodafone example, The bank import can remember things from what it's done previously. So if we've got a Newcastle City Council as a direct debit and it's posted to rates, next month it will remember and post it there automatically. So what is a typical client of eTime? Well, it can depend, but usually what has happened in the last 2 or 3 years is that a client has basically handed over their whole accounting function to Evolution, and we've recorded all their information. They've scanned and sent stuff to us, be it invoices like sales or purchases. We have access to their internet banking, so there's no need to worry about statements, and we basically take care of everything. Our payroll team will do the payroll, and that will also be posted automatically to the system. An example client is a client of ours in the Northwest, and they've basically handed over their whole accounting system to us. When I went to see them originally, they've really sort of got on board with what we were trying to do, and the 2 directors said to me, look, don't take this the wrong way, but I never want to see your face again. Now, I didn't take that too personally, but I think what he was trying to say was we don't need to meet over here in Blackpool. What it has meant, though, is that that information that they now have is so up to date that Tim, the tax team, have done tax planning with them, Evolution Financial have done pension planning, and our corporate finance team are doing some non-executive directors work with them. Probably work that we couldn't have done with any sort of confidence if we hadn't have had that really good up-to-date information. So don't just take my word for it. Here's a testimonial from one of our clients. And I'm going to try and show you a little demo here, so just bear with me a second. So this is Isora, and this is an application that basically takes the information from the core accounting records but puts it in a sort of format which I think is much easier to understand, especially for a business owner and not a typical someone who's used to looking at accounts every day. But I will show you the sort of boring profit and loss account sort of stuff first. So this is your sort of typical summarised profit and loss account. As you can see, all the sort of normal headings you would expect to see. And we do have sort of drill down functionality. And as I said, if we'd use the base code application, and we'd have PDFs of copies of invoices within the system all embedded in here where you could drill down into it. So if you were looking at something like office expenses, you can then have a little further drill down into it and see what's in it, what makes up telephone. And if you really wanted to, you could sort of really get into the detail of our individual invoices. Again, if you're looking at things like, well, comparisons and stuff like that, well, it's quite easy to then just to compare it to budget or last year. And really, if I can run this, anyone can really. Usually a young person would be better. And there you've got your sort of comparisons, actual budget and last year. So that, if you like, is a typical sort of profit and loss account that you expect to see in most accounting packages, but it's also much easier to use.
This is available on smartphone and tablet.
It is, yeah. So if I go back up. But I think where it really comes into its own is where we're looking to analyse sort of information in a different way. So again, if the business owner just wants a sort of snapshot of, on that day of how the business is doing, you've got things like a working capital dashboard, which has got your bank, money in the bank, money you're owed in from sales and customers, money you're out, giving you a sort of working capital figure. If you really wanted to get into detail again, you could look at creditors and see who we owe money to, giving it sort of easy, understandable way of viewing it. And again, if you'd used the base core app, you could then drill down right into the detail and see the actual invoice that that cost's been incurred with. What else have we got here? And then from an analysis and sort of comparison point of view, we've got our KPIs. So we've got sort of just a summary there of sort of sales compared to budget or compared to last year, gross profit, wages, the normal sort of things. But, if numbers is not really your thing, you can see it in sort of easily understandable graphs looking at actual against budget and against last year. And just so you think we do prepare, just in case it didn't work, we had some screenshots just in case to show you. So really, I think, to summarise, you know, I've got to stress how important it is to use the management information, and not just for compliance purposes, really, but also to get that information as up to date as possible, and then be able to analyse it in a much easier way. Right, thanks very much.